I am recording the video and today's topic is Google speech recognition, speech to text request construction. This document is a guide to the basics of using speech to text. This conceptual guide covers the types of requests you can make to speech to text, how to construct those requests, and how to handle their responses. We recommended that all users of speech to text read this guide and one of the associated tutorials before diving into the API itself. Note: all users can send up to 60 minutes of audio speech to text for free each month. If you exceed this amount, cost is incurred. Speech request. Speech to text has three main methods to perform speech recognition. These are listed below. First, synchronous recognition, REST and gRPC. Send audio data to the speech to text API, perform recognition on that data, and return result after all audio has been processed. Synchronous recognition requests are limited to audio data of 1 minute or less in duration. Second, asynchronous recognition, REST and gRPC, sends audio data to the speech to text API and initiates a long running operation. Using this operation, you can periodically poll for recognition results. Use asynchronous request for audio data of any duration up to 480 minutes. Third, streaming recognition, gRPC only, performs recognition on audio data provided within a gRPC bidirectional stream. Streaming requests are designed for real-time recognition purposes, such as capturing live audio from a microphone. Streaming recognition provides interim results while audio is being captured, allowing result to appear, for example, while a user is still speaking. Requests contain configuration parameter as well as audio data. The following section describe this type of recognition requests, the response they generate, and how to handle those responses in more detail. Speech to text API recognition. A speech to text API synchronous recognition request is the simplest method for performing recognition on speech audio data. Speech to text can process up to 1 minute of speech audio data sent in a synchronous request. After speech to text process and recognize all of the audio, it returns a response. A synchronous request is blocking, meaning that speech to text must return a response before processing the next request. Speech to text typically processes audio faster than real time, processing 30 seconds of audio in 15 seconds on average. In case of poor quality, your recognition request can take significantly longer. Speech to text has both REST and gRPC method for calling speech to text API synchronous and asynchronous requests. This article demonstrates the REST API because it is a simpler to show and explain basic use of the API. However, the basic makeup of a REST or gRPC request is quite similar. Streaming recognition requests are only supported by gRPC. All speech to text API synchronous recognition requests must include a speech recognition config field. A recognition config contains the following subfields. Encoding. It is required. It specifies the encoding scheme of the supplied audio of type audio encoding. If you have a choice, in codec prefer a lossless encoding such as FLAC or Linear 16 for best performance. The encoding field is optional for FLAC and WAV files where the encoding is included in the file header. Sample rate hertz, it is required. Specify the sample rate of the supplied audio. The sample rate hertz field is optional for FLAC and WAV files where the sample rate is included in the file header. Language code, it is required. It contains the language plus region to use for speech recognition of the supplied audio. The language code must be a BCP-47 identifier. Note that the language codes typically contain of primary language text and secondary region subtext to indicate dialects. For example, EN for English and US for the United States in the above example. Makes alternatives optional, default to 1, indicates the number of alternative transcription to provide in the response. By default, the speech to text API provides one primary transcription. If you wish to evaluate different alternatives, set makes alternative to a higher value. Note that speech to text will only return alternatives if the recognizer determine alternative to be of sufficient quality. In general, alternatives are more appropriate to real-time requests requiring user feedback, for example, voice commands, and therefore are more suited for streaming recognition requests. Profanity filter, optional, indicates whether to filter out profane words or phrase. Words filter out will contain their first letter and for the remaining character. The profanity filter operates on a single words. It does not detect abusive or offensive speech that is a phrase or combination of words. Speech context, optional, contains additional contextual information for processing this audio. A context contains the following subfields. Boost, it contains a value that assigns a weight of recognition a given word or phrase. Phrases, it contains a list of words and phrases that provide hints to speech recognition tasks. Audio is supplied to speech to text through the audio parameter of a type recognition audio. The audio field contains either of the following subfields. Content contains the audio to evaluate embedded within the request. URI, it contains a URI pointing to the audio content. The file must be compressed. Currently, the file must contain a Google Cloud Storage URI. Sample rates, you specify the sample rate of your audio in the sample rate hertz field of the request configuration, and it must match the sample rate of the associated audio content or stream. Sample rates between 8000 Hz and 48,000 Hz are supported within speech to text. You can specify the sample rate of a FLAC or WAV file in the file header instead of using the sample rate hertz. A FLAC file must contain the sample rate in the FLAC header in order to be submitted to the speech to text API. Thank you.